What's going on, everyone? It's Justin here, and today I've got a video of Samsung's newest flagship, the Note 10 Plus. So this is a phone that is kind of their official flagship for each year that builds upon what has already been done in the S line earlier in the year. So today I'm going to talk about kind of the top 10 features or my favorite things about it. And if you guys have any questions, make sure you drop them down below as well, and also subscribe to the channel. So this phone right here has kind of been called a super phone early on. It's got great specs, it's got a very big build, some bold styling, as well as multiple cameras. You've got a huge display in the S Pen, and it's just everything about a smartphone packed into one, which is backed by a very large battery as well. So I think the first thing you're going to notice as kind of a feature or just an observation that you really can't miss is the display. It is one of the best on the market, as Samsung has done in the past. It is a giant 6.8-inch display with a 1440p resolution. It also has an Infinity O cutout on the front, and this gives it an effective screen-to-body ratio of 91%. The colors are very sharp and vibrant, the blacks are deep, and it is a very bright screen as well, one of the brightest on the market. But one thing that it doesn't have that I sort of miss after using some other phones is 90 Hz. Otherwise, just from a visual standpoint though, you really can't complain, and paired with the S Pen experience, multimedia, and just the sheer size of it, it is definitely one of the best on the market. I think one of the best features that Samsung has improved on though is the battery. It is 4300 mAh, but even though the size is nice, it is kind of expected for a phone of this size, but beyond that, they've done quite a few things as well. So this phone is able to charge at a speed of up to 45 watts wired, which is super fast, but you do have to buy a $50 charging kit, but inside the box they give you a 25 watt kit, which is going to be fast enough for 95% of people out there, unlike Apple giving you like a 5 watt charger, which is kind of ridiculous in 2019. I think for the most part, 25 watts is going to be fast enough, but you want that extra capability, then for $50 you can get 45 watts, which is super fast for such a large battery. There has also been some improvements made on the wireless charging side of things. You can charge up to 15 watts wirelessly with the compatible charger, but one of the best improvements, I think, is the fact that the wireless power share is able to charge a device that you put on it at up to 15 watts as well. Previously, the Samsung Galaxy S10 line with its wireless power share introduced for the first time was able to charge at around 4.5 watts, and I also found that on the Huawei P30 Pro and the Mate line, the wireless power share was just very slow to the point where it was almost a little bit impractical, but still a good feature to have. The fact that you are able to charge a piggyback device at the same speed that it is able to intake is amazing. Just going back to the general battery life though, I found that the battery life was around the same as the Samsung Galaxy Note 9, which was already pretty good. You can get anywhere from about a day to a day and a half, sometimes even 2 days depending on how much you use the phone. Another great feature that I think every phone should have nowadays is a native screen recorder, and just go ahead and slide into the menu and you have it right here to start right away. And even though screen recording is great, it isn't anything special or brand new, but I think what is exclusive to the Note line is the fact that you are able to draw on your screen and annotate stuff live while the screen is recording. So that is great for work if you're doing like an art revision or stuff where you want to annotate a document or like illustrate part of a video and have some pointers for some edits. I don't know what you want to do with it. You're able to do that very easily just with the press of a button directly from your home screen. So I think the next thing that you really can't forget about is the camera. This right here has a triple camera setup as well as a time of flight sensor, which is great for the depth and portrait mode. For a phone at this caliber, especially from Samsung, you expect that the photos and videos are going to be very good. And when it comes to photos, you've got a 12 megapixel main sensor, a 12 megapixel telephoto, and also a 16 megapixel wide. And the photos all look really good in broad daylight as well as in night mode. And the portrait mode does a pretty good job as well in detecting edges both in objects and people, which is all great things to see, but they aren't exactly anything new. And I think what is new about this is when it comes to the video modes. You've got the ability to shoot in 4K video and slow motion, but one feature that this phone does have is bokeh video, which gives you kind of that DSLR portrait mode look in video. And although LG did try that earlier in the year, it honestly looked really bad and beyond a gimmick, but on the Samsung Galaxy Note 10, it is actually usable, and that is really great to see. There's a few effects that you can play around with, but my personal favorite is the VCR RGB effect because it kind of hides a few of the imperfections that may occur in bokeh video, because you have to remember it is still in very early stages. Another thing that is impressive about video mode though is the stabilization, and the in-camera stabilization is one that looks really good built in. And for a phone that is of this size, it is already very easy to grip and easy to reference through the large display what you're recording in video, but I think having great stabilization just enhances the abilities of a phone like this when it comes to creativity. I think now that we talked about the camera though, especially on the video side, it is pretty clear that this is going to be a very popular phone for those who are social media enthusiasts looking to have a device that is a powerhouse in terms of video and photo, and the Galaxy Note 10 really does fit that area. If you guys really want to take your social media stories to the next level though, one great plugin is from Motion VFX and it is called M Stories. This pack essentially gives you 50 social media story templates as well as 20 add-ons for Final Cut Pro 10, but I think the best part about it is that these are all very creative, different, customizable, and unique in a way to make it exactly the way you would like it to look. All you have to do is have your story video and just go ahead and drag and drop this template onto your timeline, and you can modify every single thing when it comes to text and color. This just gives you a very professional look as opposed to generically typing text on Instagram stories, which I'm kind of guilty of doing a lot of the times. But it does also have great call to action animations such as swipe up, which is very handy especially on Instagram. As you guys might have noticed in the past, I use a ton of plugins from Motion VFX, whether it is M callouts, animations, as well as arrows that just are great for creators and especially easy to use, which is very important to me. If you guys want to check them out, I'm going to drop a link down below, and a huge thanks to them for sponsoring this video. I think the next thing that is really obvious is the design. Just look at this phone, it's got this glass finish on the back, and this new color is called Aurora Glow, and I think the phone itself is really beautiful, and the glass just goes around the edge and wraps the same amount to the edge of the phone as the screen does. So you got this just very thin metal band that wraps around and connects the two sides together, which I think looks very, very clean. It does go for a very boxy design, which you're either gonna love or hate, but for a phone of this size, to make it easy to hold and draw on and write on, I think it does make a lot of sense. So last year, Samsung introduced Bluetooth to the S Pen, which allows you to use it as like a remote to click the shutter and stuff like that. But this year there is actually a gyroscope that is built in and allows you to do even more than that, such as gestures. Some of the new features and compatible apps include the native camera mode, which allows you to press the button and swipe up to switch the camera and swipe sideways to be able to change between the different camera modes. I found those to overall work pretty well, and there's also another feature that allows you to zoom by motioning a circle, but I found that one to be a little bit harder to use and accurate every time. Other than that though, the S Pen is able to do all the things that it is well known for, whether it is drawing on screen, annotating stuff, doing some sketches if you're a great artist. And for those who use it a lot, then this is the only phone and probably the best option that you're able to use a phone with a stylus on an everyday basis. Honestly, I don't really find myself using the gestures that much, but if you're someone who uses the S Pen already, then you're really gonna love the experience with the larger screen and the fact that it goes edge to edge on this generation phone. But if you have the Note 9 already, then it makes it a little bit of a hard sell to upgrade right away. The pen itself is still very responsive, great for drawing, taking notes, and annotating, and that is what I personally use it the most for because I'm definitely not the best artist at the moment. Another great feature in my opinion is Samsung DeX, and what this is the ability to be able to use your phone kind of as like a multitasking extension or have the desktop experience that is powered by your smartphone. And you can go ahead and plug it into your computer or your monitor and kind of use it as a watered down desktop experience and use apps such as the Microsoft Suite, the Adobe Suite, Google Play Store, and even play some games on it. I think the thing that you're going to notice with a lot of phones nowadays is that they have crazy specs and a lot of power, but on everyday tasks and most of the things you're going to even use on it as a power user are not ones that really capitalize on the power and performance of a phone, and I think with Samsung DeX it really does do that. I think the last thing to mention is just the pure speed of this device. You've got up to 12 gigs of RAM and the top end Snapdragon or Exynos variant depending on where you live. And a lot of times the phone might be fast, but it also just can't handle its own power because it starts to overheat. But with the water cooling, the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 actually does manage the temperature pretty well, and I never really noticed it getting too hot at all, even at maximum load. You can have as many apps as possible, play some games, do some notes, and just really take advantage of all the features on a phone that essentially has a lot of features, with many of which that you might never notice in the duration that you own this device. Otherwise, my overall impressions of the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus is that it is a pretty big improvement from the Samsung Galaxy S10 or even the Note 9, but none of the improvements are crucial to the point where if you had any of the past two generations, you should go ahead and upgrade right away. You definitely do have a lot of questions to ask yourself, whether it is your current phone is missing certain things that you might want, you value the charging, the battery life, you really like the display, or need the additional power and the extra features with DeX and stuff. But to buy a brand new phone at this price point, I think especially in the past few years, is a little bit of a tougher decision as to years prior. As always, if you guys have any questions though, make sure you drop them down below and I'll try my best to get to them, and I'll see you all in the next video.